Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Habitual Linecrosser, and today we're talking about leadership. Now, I've heard a lot about the different types of leadership that are out there, and you saw from the thumbnail that there's going to be some planes showing up. And we'll get to those guys eventually, because they're going to be bringing in their own little aspects of these things. But I do want to talk about, the first off, what is leadership? So the Webster's Dictionary is the action of leading a group of people or organization. Now, the United States Army defines it as, and I should know this, but I have it in my notes, and I'm going to try not to look. Just watch my eyes. Shit, how does it start? The process of providing purpose, direction, and motivation to empower the units and improve the organization. I think I got that right. Hold on. The process of influencing people by providing purpose, direction, and motivation while operating to accomplish the mission and improve the organization. I was close enough. So I decided, I was like, let's check all the rest of the branches. So the Navy definition of leadership is the act of accomplishing the Navy's mission through people, which I do like that. The United States Air Force definition is the art, that is such an Air Force answer, by the way, the art of influencing and directing people, followers, to accomplish the mission. The U.S. Coast Guard, don't worry, I didn't skip over the Marines, I'm saving it for last. The U.S. Coast Guard, working with and influencing others to achieve common goals. By the way, couldn't find any official doctrine from the Space Force. I was going to get that one too, but I just couldn't find anything on it. And the Marine Corps, and the reason you're going to see right now why I saved the Marine Corps for last. The sum of those qualities of intellect, human understanding, and moral character that enables a person to inspire and to control a group of people successfully. Why does the Marine Corps have the most elegant and eloquent definition of fucking leadership? Like, that irritates the shit out of me. Like, we make fun of them for being crayon eaters, but that shit goes hard. So for those of you who are unaware, right now I'm active duty United States Army. I've been in for a little over 15 years. So I've met a lot of leaders. I've met a lot of good ones, and I've met a lot of bad ones. Now, I will tell you the first thing that I've learned about leadership in general is rank does not equate leadership ability or intelligence. That is going to hurt some officers, that is going to hurt some sergeants major, but there's some people in very, very high positions that I have met who couldn't lead their way out of a wet paper bag. I will say that the highest that I've ever met is a 2-star that couldn't lead his way out of a wet paper bag. Is there a blueprint for good leadership? Well, there's certain qualities you're supposed to show when you want to be a good leader, but there's not necessarily you must do this, because everybody is a little bit different. That's something that I've learned in my time in the military. I used to think that, you treat everybody exactly the same. And I realized that soldiers, subordinates, subordinate leaders, they're all very different. Sometimes if I get loud, they get motivated and get the job done. Other times if I get loud, they shut down and they need to be talked to one-on-one. So you really have to find what leadership style works best for you. For me, I try to remain approachability. The best example of leadership I was ever given was from the late Staff Sergeant Casey Grakoviak. He was a friend of mine in Afghanistan. And what he taught me was that leadership is this invisible gray line. And on one side of it, you are too friendly, and your subordinates don't respect your level of authority. And on the other side of it, you're too stern and no one will come to you with their problems. You lack approachability until it becomes just an overwhelming issue. So you need to find a way to remain right in the middle of those two extremes. So jumping back to what I was talking about, that rank doesn't equate leadership ability, is sometimes people follow you just because you possess the authority to be in charge of them, but they don't respect you. They don't respect your opinion. They're going to be second guessing everything that you do, because just because you have the rank over top of those other people doesn't mean you know what you're doing or know what you're talking about. I've met several of these in my military career, and some people may argue that I'm one of them. You will never be the good guy in everybody's story. And I know I'm the bad guy in a few people's stories, and I tried to rehabilitate as best I possibly could. And yes, it was a learning experience along the way. And I've even had soldiers that I had previously adjudicated reach out to me. And I talk to them now in, a little bit older, a little bit more mature, and a little more well-rounded as a leader. And I apologize to them because I think humility is an incredibly important quality for all leaders today. And I apologize that I didn't possess the leadership ability to give you the mentorship that you needed at that time in your life. And I hope that I rebuilt that bridge with that individual, because he was a good kid and taught me a lot. Well, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start talking to myself. Up first, we have Grandpa Buff. So, Grandpa Buff, how do you define leadership?
I'd say it's your ability to inspire others, effectively use tools, equipment, and personnel to accomplish a common goal.
That is really insightful, Grandpa Buff.
One of the hardest lessons people have to learn is to let their people fail and learn from it.
You know, speaking from firsthand experience, that wasn't something I learned until just a few years ago.
Listen, nobody wants their people to fail, but sometimes it's necessary so that they learn a lesson.
That is a wonderful lesson to teach our following.
And sometimes I let them fail because they're stupid and it makes me laugh.
Thanks, Grandpa Buff. We'll see you later.
Bye, everybody.
So, like I said, there is no blueprint for what proper leadership looks like. There is no template. There are good qualities and good attributes. Now, the United States Army lines these out as the leadership competencies and the leadership attributes. These are also the ways you're evaluated on your DA Form 2166-9-1 or -9-2. Yeah, -9-. Man, now I'm forgetting what page an NCOER is. NCOER stands for Non-Commissioned Officer Evaluation Report. Now, when you line these up, the leadership attributes and competencies, what you have is leads, develops, achieves, and then character, presence, intellect. And every year, annually, unless of course you're changing to a different rater, there's like 9 different types of NCOERs, your raters, your person in charge of you, they will find ways to quantify how you have lead, developed, achieved, and what your character, presence, and intellect consist of. Up next, we have our good friend, the AC-130.
This is my first feature in a full-length video. How's my hair?
We both don't have hair.
You do on your back. I've seen it.
Can we stay on topic, please?
Fine. What do you want to know?
How do you define leadership?
It's a people business, and taking care of them makes us stronger.
I have heard people first very often.
Yeah, it's not just about people first. Sometimes it's going against the grain and rocking the boat and going outside the rules and making sure your people are taken care of. Sometimes I wish these spineless commanders would realize that a lot of our rules and regulations are put in place out of knee-jerk reaction and aren't actually helping people.
Honestly, I can't find a flaw in this logic. I found the doctrine sometimes is so stringent that I can't exercise a left or right limit to actually help somebody. And other times they're so ambiguous I can't actually hold anyone accountable for their actions.
Doctrine should be used to guide and empower leaders, not handicap them.
I have never identified more with a figment of my imagination.
Remember, you're the one talking to yourself professionally.
Yeah, that's right. The AC-130, everybody. You know, that's a very, very important lesson to learn, is that sometimes you have to go against the grain to lead people effectively. Sometimes you have to do what is difficult and what others haven't done. Sometimes when someone tells you that this is the way we've always done it, you need to ask why. There's a lot of things, even right now in the United States Army, that don't really make any sense. For example, in my opinion, charge of quarters, or CQ. You have a non-commissioned officer and a soldier staying at the barracks 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to sit there in front of a phone at a desk and write down what happens. This is something that started years ago before the adaptation of cell phones. When you had to call the barracks and get a hold of somebody, you would call the CQ would go up and get that person from their room or wherever they're at and then bring them to you. Now we have cell phones. Hey, private so-and-so, hey, specialist so-and-so, come meet me at the office. And it's just that simple nowadays. I don't think that we need to continue to do these things, but again, that's me just having my own opinions. Up next, we have somebody who helped shape our history. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the B25 Mitchell.
Holy cow. Am I going to be on the picture box?
Yes, Mitchell, people are watching right now.
Good. Birds aren't real. I was on that program. The government replaced them years ago.
Stop. You know some people are going to believe you.
But that's half the fun.
Okay, anyways. So what is leadership to you?
Can I define it with an example?
Yes, absolutely.
Very well. April 18th, 1942. We were pissed about what the Japanese had done to us at Pearl Harbor, and we needed a victory. Lieutenant Colonel Doolittle gathered up the men. We were going to stick it to them on their home turf. 16 of us B-25s took off from the USS Hornet. We knew we couldn't cause enough damage strategically, and we knew it was most likely a suicide mission. But that man, he put the vigor in us. Our boys we lost inside those ships in Pearl Harbor. They deserved to give the enemy what for, and Doolittle was the man for the job. He made it clear the risks, and he knew that he could order us to do what he needed us to do. But instead, he asked us for help in his endeavor. Of the 16 B-25s that took off from the Hornet, 14 crews made it to friendly forces. One crew landed in Vladivostok, I can't name that damn city in Russia, and they were taken captive, because Russia wasn't officially in the war back then. And one crew was captured. Out of those 16 B-25s, only the one that landed in Russia had survived. The rest of them crashed. It seems so long ago, but I tell you right now, if Doolittle came back from the grave and asked me to go again, I'd fly that route one more time.
Wow. That is an example of leadership right there.
He was one of the good ones. Getting less and less of those these days.
I kind of disagree. Now, the leaders of the past were great, don't get me wrong. The leaders of today just look a little bit different. They act a little bit different because you have to continue to adapt your leadership style with the times. And these individuals, they're doing circumstantially what Lieutenant Colonel Doolittle did back in 1942. They're motivating people to do things that they don't want to do because people want to follow them. Not because they're ordered to, but because they want to be there.
Well, I hope you're right, because we're going to need them.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Mitchell.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to go back to this app I found called Grindr. It's for meeting women. I haven't seen any women on there yet, but I am a patient man.
I'm not even going to touch that. Have a good one, Mitchell. Thank you for being here, man.
Goodbye, everybody.
So there you have it. Another example of good leadership. Somebody who can motivate others to do things that they don't want to do, especially when it comes to military service. Not everybody is going to want to do what you're asking them to do. I had a first sergeant. Now, he wasn't a great example of a leader, but every leader you run into, you should learn something from them. I have learned from a lot of senior leaders, the senior leader that I am never going to be. And I've learned from a lot of other leaders, bits and pieces that I want to take with me. And one of the things that he taught me, he actually asked me to do something. He was my first sergeant at the time. And I was like, first sergeant, you know you can just like make me do something. And he goes, yes, I absolutely know that. He goes, but I asked you because it makes you feel better about doing it than if I were to tell you. You know it's an order. I know it's an order. But it comes across a little bit better to you. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and put that feather in my cap. I'm going to take that with me. Put that in my toolbox. You should learn something from every leader you meet. Take good and bad. I guess that about wraps it up. So as always, do not give in to the 22 a day. Every single one of you are amazing. And if you'd like to support the channel, please go to habituallinecrosser.com, get yourself some merch, or go ahead and maybe buy me a beer. So again, guys, thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Leave a comment below telling me what you think good leadership is. Play me out.